Have you ever stood at the edge of your own limits? That moment when your dreams feel just a fingertip away, but you've tripped again and again and again. They say the path to greatness is paved with triumph. But I've learned, from the scarred skin of my own failures, that triumph doesn't build the road, failure does. You don't stumble your way into success by avoiding mistakes. You carve your path by surviving them, over and over, until your bruises become badges, until your regrets become reasons, until the pain becomes proof that you're still in the ring, still swinging. You see, the truth no one tells you when you start chasing something big, really big, is this: you will fall more times than you can count. And if you're lucky, if you're really lucky, you'll learn how to stand taller every time you hit the floor. Let me be honest. The first time I failed, it broke me. The 10th time, it nearly ended me. But the 100th time, I started listening. Not to the world outside, but to the silence within. Because failure, when you let it speak, doesn't just shout your shortcomings. It whispers your strength. Success? It's seductive. It makes the headlines. It earns applause, but it rarely teaches. Failure, on the other hand, is an unforgiving mentor, but it doesn't lie to you. It holds a mirror to your flaws, strips away your ego, and demands one question: are you going to try again? That's why I believe what Steve Harvey once said, not as a quote, but as a lived truth. You will never succeed more than you fail, because failure is a wonderful teacher. This isn't just a motivational line. It's a rule of the universe, a truth we all quietly know, but desperately try to avoid. And the irony? The more we avoid failure, the more we delay the lessons that can truly change us. Because no book, no mentor, no course can teach you what one hard fall can. And if you're willing to bleed, to fall, to fail, then you're already walking the road few have the courage to choose. Success is not a staircase. It's a maze with dead ends, dark corners, and more wrong turns than right ones. And the only way out is through confusion, through loss, through falling flat on your face, just when you thought you were finally getting it right. The problem is, we've been conditioned to worship outcomes. We celebrate victories. We glorify achievements. But we don't talk about the nights when nothing makes sense, about the moments you feel like a fraud, about the hours spent doubting if it's even worth continuing. And yet, it's in those moments, the quiet, hidden ones, where real growth is planted. Success is loud. Failure is silent. But it's in the silence where something powerful begins to stir: resilience. That unteachable, unshakable fire that whispers, again, just one more time. Because the secret no one tells you is this: success doesn't multiply your victories. It multiplies your capacity to endure. You start thinking differently after each fall. You stop fearing the fall itself. You begin to realize that every misstep taught you something winning never could. It's not a curse. It's the curriculum. The setbacks? They're not delays. They're directions. Each rejection toughens your skin. Each loss softens your ego. Each failure refines your focus. Bit by bit, you become someone who can carry the weight of what you're chasing. And that's important, because the version of you that starts the journey is never strong enough to finish it. But the one built by 1,000 falls? They're more than ready. There's a strange kind of beauty in this process. A kind of pain that doesn't destroy, but sculpts. A humility that doesn't shrink you, but grounds you. A hunger that doesn't fade after the first win, but deepens, because you know how much it costs to earn it. So if you're failing, if nothing is working, if all you've got left is a whisper of a dream, don't run. Don't numb it. Don't quit. Because this is the part where your story gets real. This is the part that separates those who almost made it from those who do. Let me tell you something most people won't. Failure isn't your enemy. It's just the first one to show up and the last one to leave. It doesn't knock politely. It barges in. It ruins your plans. It wrecks your pride. And for a while, it makes you believe you're not good enough. But if you sit with it long enough, if you really look it in the eye, you'll see something unexpected. Failure never comes empty-handed. It always brings a gift. Not the kind you want, but the kind you need. It brings self-awareness. It forces reinvention. It unlocks parts of yourself you never knew existed, because comfort never asked you to go that deep. It's strange how we often look back on our worst moments and call them turning points. Why? Because when everything falls apart, we finally stop pretending. We stop pretending we have it all figured out. We stop pretending we're invincible. And in that raw, stripped bare space, truth finally has a chance to speak. Here's what mine told me. You've been chasing the spotlight, but avoiding the fire. And you can't shine without surviving the burn. Failure burns, but it also reveals. And sometimes, what it reveals is the gap between who you think you are and who you need to become. That's why failure isn't random. It's targeted. It finds your weak spots. It presses into them, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Think of every great name you admire, every person who's done something remarkable. Behind their triumphs is a graveyard of attempts no one saw. They weren't born fearless. They just stopped letting failure be the period at the end of their sentence. They made it the comma, the pause, the breath before the next brave move. So the next time failure shows up, don't slam the door. Let it in. Ask it what it's here to teach you. And listen, because one day, when success finally arrives, it won't be despite the failures. It'll be because of them. We talk a lot about persistence, don't we? Keep going. Never give up. Stay strong. It's everywhere, on posters, coffee mugs, motivational reels. But nobody really talks about what persistence feels like. It doesn't feel like power. It feels like crawling through mud while everyone else seems to be flying. It feels like watching others pass you by while you're stuck learning the same brutal lesson again and again. It feels like being the only one who believes in a dream that keeps betraying you. Persistence is not loud. It's not glamorous. It's not a battle cry. It's a quiet, tired whisper. I'll try again tomorrow. That's it. No fireworks. No applause. Just a decision made in the dark, with no one watching, that you won't quit. Yet. Because real persistence isn't rooted in arrogance. It's born from humility. It's the voice that says, I don't know when this will work, but I know I'm not done trying. That mindset, it turns failure from a dead end into a detour. It rewrites defeat as a lesson plan. It teaches you to see time not as your enemy, but your ally. You start to understand. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Not for a quick win, but for a lasting one. One that sticks. One that means something. One that has depth because you had to dig so deep to find it. And here's the paradox. The longer you persist, the less afraid you are of failing. Not because failure disappears, but because you've faced it so many times, it's lost its sting. You know it now. You recognize its shape. And more importantly, you've learned how to stand back up without waiting for permission. So if you're still showing up, bruised but breathing, if you're still moving forward even when you're limping, you're not behind. You're becoming. The ones who make it. They aren't the most talented. They're the ones who stopped asking for the road to get easier and started becoming the kind of person who could handle it, just as it is. There's a kind of strength that doesn't come from lifting weights or shouting affirmations into a mirror. It comes from willingly walking back into the same fire that burned you, because this time, you're not afraid to get scorched. You see, the difference between those who rise and those who run isn't pain tolerance. It's pain acceptance. The understanding that discomfort isn't a detour from growth, it is the growth. You stop resisting the hard things. You stop negotiating with the grind. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to shape in me? Because the most powerful people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who avoided struggle. They're the ones who shook hands with it, who looked failure in the eye and said, teach me everything. That kind of person doesn't fear the fall anymore because they've built wings on the way down. They've fallen before. Hard, humiliatingly, publicly, privately, and every time, they found one more reason to rise. Not because it was easy, but because staying down wasn't an option anymore. They don't need the crowd. They don't wait for applause. They rise because the work matters more than the wound. And here's the truth most people avoid. Winning is not the reward for avoiding failure. Winning is the reward for partnering with it. You have to earn your resilience. You have to live your breakthroughs. You have to bleed in the dark long before you shine in the light. So when you look back at your journey, at the mess and the missteps, at the things you swore would break you, realize this. Those were not distractions. They were construction. They were building someone with the capacity not just to win, but to hold on to the win, with wisdom, with gratitude, and with a humility that success alone could never teach. This is not about chasing victory. This is about becoming someone victory can trust. Think back to the moments that changed you, not the ones where everything went right, but the ones that nearly broke you. The job you lost, the deal that collapsed, the betrayal that left you speechless, the dream that dissolved right in front of your eyes. Those were the nights you stared at the ceiling and questioned everything. Those were the mornings you didn't want to get out of bed, because what was the point? Those were the times when quitting didn't feel like weakness, it felt like mercy. And yet, somehow, you didn't. You showed up, bruised, shaken, uncertain, but you showed up. That moment, that's when something sacred happened. Not visible, not dramatic, but irreversible. Something inside you started to shift, not the world outside, not the circumstances. You. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Success might make you feel proud, but failure is what makes you real. It peels away every mask, every pretense, every excuse. It leaves you with nothing but you, unfiltered, unfinished, and unbelievably human. And in that rawness, you start to see what you're truly made of. You realize your value was never tied to the outcome, that you don't have to win to be worthy. That courage isn't the absence of fear, it's walking forward while terrified. That identity isn't found in trophies or titles, but in how you treat yourself after you fall apart. You stop performing. You start becoming. Not someone new, but someone true. The more you fail, the less you fake. The more you struggle, the more you shed. The more you hurt, the deeper you see. And that version of you, the one forged in fire, not praise, that's the one success has been waiting for. Not just to bless, but to belong to. Because when life finally hands you what you've been working for, you won't just hold it, you'll honor it, because you'll know what it cost. At some point, the chase for success starts to feel hollow. You hit the targets, you get the applause, you climb the ladder, and yet, something feels off. Not because you didn't win, but because deep down, you realize the win didn't transform you the way the losses did. No one tells you this. Success is not the end of the road. It's the byproduct of the road you chose to walk every single day when no one was watching. When quitting would have been easier. When you had every reason to give up, but didn't. You see, real success isn't a trophy. It's the ability to look in the mirror and say, I respect the person I've become more than the results I've achieved. That's power. That's freedom. That's peace. Think back to the moments that changed you, not the ones where everything went right, but the ones that nearly broke you. The job you lost. The deal that collapsed. The betrayal that left you speechless. The dream that dissolved right in front of your eyes. Those were the nights you stared at the ceiling and questioned everything. Those were the mornings you didn't want to get out of bed, because what was the point? Those were the times when quitting didn't feel like weakness, it felt like mercy. And yet, somehow, you didn't. You showed up. Bruised, shaken, uncertain, but you showed up. That moment? That's when something sacred happened. Not visible, not dramatic, but irreversible. Something inside you started to shift, not the world outside, not the circumstances. You. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Success might make you feel proud, but failure is what makes you real. It peels away every mask, every pretense, every excuse. It leaves you with nothing but you, unfiltered, unfinished, and unbelievably human. And in that rawness, you start to see what you're truly made of. You realize your value was never tied to the outcome, that you don't have to win to be worthy. That courage isn't the absence of fear, it's walking forward while terrified. That identity isn't found in trophies or titles, but in how you treat yourself after you fall apart. You stop performing. You start becoming. Not someone new, but someone true. The more you fail, the less you fake. The more you struggle, the more you shed. The more you hurt, the deeper you see. And that version of you, the one forged in fire, not praise, that's the one success has been waiting for. Not just to bless, but to belong to. Because when life finally hands you what you've been working for, you won't just hold it, you'll honor it. Because you'll know what it cost. Because you no longer need external validation to feel valuable. You no longer fear starting over, because you've done it before. You no longer chase titles, because your character is the loudest statement you make. And suddenly, it hits you. You didn't just build a career, you built a life. One anchored in resilience, forged in setbacks, refined in reflection. You build a way of being that says, I'm not here to be perfect. I'm here to grow. And I'll grow through everything, especially the pain. That mindset? It's unshakable. It's what separates temporary success from sustained significance. It's what turns ambition into impact. It's what makes you magnetic, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. And maybe that's the point of all the failures. Not to break you, but to strip away everything that wasn't you. So that when you finally arrive, you recognize yourself. Not the version of you built for approval, but the version of you born from ashes, grit, and grace. That's the win worth chasing. Not one that impresses others. One that awakens you. So here you are, still breathing, still moving, still carrying the weight of every misstep, every doubt, every detour. And yet, somehow, still rising. That alone makes you rare. Not because you've succeeded beyond all odds, but because you've dared to stay in the fight long after the cheering stopped. You've learned that the path isn't paved in praise. It's carved through silence. It's etched into the bones of those who kept walking even when the road disappeared. And in that stillness, in that absence of clarity, you found your truth. You found out that failure didn't end you, it introduced you. It revealed your depth, your edges, your essence. It stripped away the masks and left you staring into the rawness of who you really are. And what did you do with that version of yourself? You didn't reject them. You rebuilt with them. You didn't wait to be rescued. You rescued yourself. Now, when someone asks you about your success, you don't list your wins. You smile. Because your greatest achievement isn't what you earned, it's what you endured. It's the nights you cried but didn't quit. The days you stumbled but still showed up. The hours spent in darkness learning how to become your own light. So when you see others struggling, don't rush to advise, just see them. Because you know how it feels to be unseen, to be misunderstood, to be midway through a breakthrough and mistaken for broken. This is your story now. Not polished, but powerful. Not perfect, but proven. You are not the exception. You are the example. That 1,000 failures could not stop a soul set on becoming. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you'll look back and realize every time you thought it was over, it was actually just beginning.